Hi there, it's Kevin with the Rogue Deck Builder here with this week's episode of the Market Monday on a Tuesday. Classic RDB style being a day late. But this time I did want to wait for a few more Double Masters previews before I get on into this topic about the direction that Double Masters is going and talk about kind of the equity reprints and the huge red flag that this set is starting to show. It reminds me very similar of Ultimate Masters. So before we get into the topic, let's get a little bit of history of Ultimate Masters. Probably the most notorious thing that my Rogue Market channel is known for is the controversy surrounding the Ultimate Masters. So I never did like the price point of Ultimate Masters, meaning the cost of how much it was selling for, and warned the public from investing in Ultimate Masters because I thought that it would take years to recover. And I got a lot of heat for that. A lot of people saying that I didn't know what I was talking about, that I was a fake economist, that it was just, this was the best deal ever with Ultimate Masters, that it was just going to fly off the shelves, which it did. And I actually took the position that that was the whole problem with Ultimate Masters, is that the supply was so high and the demand would take forever to be able to absorb the supply of Ultimate Masters. And I still blame Ultimate Masters for a pretty poor 2019 when it came to the sealed market as well as the singles market. That basically all roads lead to Rome, and in this case Rome was Ultimate Masters, that everyone invested every penny that they would have spent on Magic the Gathering into Ultimate Masters, and it caused a bear market. And I think we're going to see the exact same thing with Double Masters, except that Double Masters has more of a red flag than Ultimate Masters does, in my opinion. And that's because a lot of these targets that they've targeted for Double Masters have already seen reprints or have extremely low supply. So now Ultimate Masters was the Ultimate Masters. They really chose these staples from Modern, and you can't do that often. You have to give time for the demand of these sets to strip the supply, and then be able to have these price increases before you can target these cards again. And what we're seeing with Double Masters, they've already started targeting many of the cards that were already printed in Master sets, and even worse is they've been targeting cards that were in Mystery as well as in Jumpstart. So I'm thinking there is a lack of overlap between people that work on these sets. So what they do is they see this $20 card and they'll be like, okay, this card needs a reprint. Say take like Grim Lavamancer. That's one that I came across. Grim Lavamancer, okay, that could use a reprint. And so the team on Jumpstart's like, oh, we can throw Grim Lavamancer in Jumpstart, no problem. We'll chuck it in and put it in this direct damage deck. And then the people that are simultaneously working on Double Masters like, oh, look, Grim Lavamancer would be a perfect card to throw in our box set here for Double Masters, that people would love to see this as rare, and voila, you have the double printing of Grim Lavamancer within such a short time period. We see this all the time with these secondary sets, or these non-standard sets, supplemental sets, I guess is what you call them, and these box sets like Commander decks within short time period, and then we have this problem of the same card getting reprinted over and over in such a short time span. So this is my first criticism with Double Masters. Before we really get into the specifics of those, though, Ultimate Masters, let's go back to Ultimate Masters. So my controversy was really on the fact that there was no way that Ultimate Masters was going to recover. And that's exactly what we saw with the Ultimate Masters. So even to this day, we can go ahead and look at Ultimate Masters and see where the prices is. So this was a set that actually wasn't released too long ago. It was released at the start of 2019, really the end of, it was really announced here at the end of 2018 and really released at the beginning of 2019. And it had a price point of, I remember the set EV was about $500 to $600 when all the spoilers were out, and people were just crazy. So they're like, okay, we're just going to throw all the money. It's a win-win. It's going to... And they didn't keep in mind the supply of this set, or the willingness for like multiple waves, or at least the supply was much higher than people thought. And I actually expect that Ultimate Masters had more supply than both Iconic and Masters 25. Now, speaking of those two just recently spiked up in value to where they are worth it to actually purchase the sealed product with both Iconic Masters and Masters 25. So that's how much of a problem those two master sets were. Ultimate Masters was the opposite of those master sets, with not the lack of actual good cards in it. It was just full of cards, but it doesn't matter what you put in the set as long as the supply is high enough. Then the price of the master set will always dip to the distributor price of whatever these boxes are going for. And that's exactly the point that I tried to drive home with Ultimate Masters, that people should not be paying kind of the street value or the MSRP that, you know, Wizards got away with it. They should be looking for under that MSRP, because there's no way that the Ultimate Masters is going to be worth that. Now, we have seen some recovery recently. This is just the inflation of the United States dollar, as well as the lack of supply that came out in especially Q2 of 2020 this year, due to the pandemic, and everything went across the board. So people are looking at Ultimate Masters and saying, well, there was a recovery here. This is just magic across the board. In fact, this is just goods across the board. You take it from, you know, cars to jewelry to anything that is investable right now. Man, I was even looking at like things like the trampoline industry. They've had the biggest runaway market with prices, mainly due to the supply has been cut off for a lot of these goods, and then people haven't been able to spend money on things like vacations and airline tickets and things like that they usually spend in this time of year, and the money has just been then moved into other categories, and we've seen goods just skyrocket across the board in the United States economy. And then, you know, tack on the free money that everyone got and the inflation of the United States dollar. And you can see that even in Magic the Gathering, where the cost of everything sealed and even the single market has had this really bull market, comparatively speaking, to the value of the United States dollar. I think this is due for a little bit of price correction once the supply chain doesn't have the hiccups that it has. And you can already see that this is going to start getting hit due to the fact that a lot of these cards are going to be in the double masters. So Ultimate Masters actually hit its low of the set value being of $909. 910, I believe. Yeah, I think it hit 907. Yep, there it is. There is low. So that was on so it had been April 14th of this year is when Ultimate Masters actually hit its low. And that was a pretty dire outlook for Ultimate Masters. That took a long time for this set to recover, and it was really the first of its type. Double Masters is now going to be the second of, throwing caution to the wind and just reprinting cards like crazy with a high supply. And so I'm thinking we're going to see this effect with Double Masters much worse, especially with Secret Layers, Jumpstart, all Mystery Booster boxes, all these other cards that have just really flooded the singles market. And there's got to be that whiplash, that kind of the snapback of the effect of just too much supply of singles. And we even have many other products that have been announced, like the Commander. There's like the Commander Legends that has been announced. There's the spell books, the Commander Green, whatever you want to call it, the 8 specific cards from Commander. When they do that for blue, I highly suspect they'll put something like Cyclonic Rift in it, which will make the value of Double Masters even less valuable if they're going to, have a double reprinting of that particular card. And this is going to spell disaster for a lot of the contents in Double Masters. Now, again, I'm not going to be a whole negative Nancy and say that Double Masters is just going to be this big, train wreck or dumpster fire. And that wasn't my point about Ultimate Masters either. I did think the contents of Ultimate Masters were fine. This was lots of value in a particular box product. My whole problem was the price point based upon the supply, and why people shouldn't have been paying more than like $350. They should really be paying just they shouldn't be going over the initial little what I call street value, or what MSRP naturally should be if they had an MSRP. And these were pre-selling on eBay for like $400, $500, $600, and I just warned people not to get trapped in that kind of trap. I'm going to say the same thing for Double Masters. So let's give a little bit of transparency. Double Masters being sold from distributors for anywhere from the high 190s to around 210, 215. So there is basically, stores have a baseline level with distributors, whether it's still based upon this supposed MSRP. And now how it works with distributors is they try to gauge what the MSRP should be with their price from Wizards, and then they pass that on with like a markup towards the stores. So most stores, if you're a beginning store all the way to premium, you're going to get between about a 40% and a 50% discount off of MSRP for products. And that holds true for Magic the Gathering. And so that gives you the price discrepancy between, the $195 booster boxes that some stores can get them for and the $215 for, the smaller stores. So that's what stores are going to be charged for Double Masters boxes. So if you give that, traditionally now in the MSRP markup, 50% is unreasonable. Most stores can maybe get away with going up about another 40% on the sealed market. So even best case scenarios with medium supply, low supply type sets, you should get away with Double Masters being sold for, I don't know, I would say $400 would be the high of where Double Masters at this reasonable markup should be. And so that's where I'm warning people that they probably shouldn't be buying into Double Masters for more than $400. And you definitely should wait for these cards to come out for the singles prices to be a better buy if you're looking for specific singles than going after the specific sealed product, because we still in this day have not seen Ultimate Masters recover as far as being able to get, $400 per booster box. Now, I haven't checked Double Ultimate Masters for a bit, but on eBay, on about a month ago, you could actually find Ultimate Masters without the box topper for under $300 and with the box topper for about $325. So even people that invested in a super low price, that actually wasn't that good of a return. And if you did get in even at the $350, which was a bargain at the time of Ultimate Masters being dropped, you wouldn't have made any money at this, I don't think it would have broken even after the fees. And if you got it in at the $400 or the $500 mark, which a lot of people were misguidedly investing in, that's a huge loss after fees if you're trying to sell into Ultimate Masters. The worst thing is that money's tied up. It's tied up in things that could have been invested in, would have had better investments. We saw a runaway on box prices of things like Eldritch Moon, which was around the same time period. Amonkhet, which has gone up to about $135 a booster box. Rivals of Ixalan. These sort of just your regular in standard sets have gone up better than Ultimate Masters. If you actually look at the ones that I liked, like Iconic Masters, that set's actually gone up a lot quicker than Ultimate Masters had, with the contents that were considered very inferior towards Ultimate Masters. But that's the problem when Wizards of the Coast plays this whole supply versus demand. I don't know that Wizards of the Coast really knows what they're doing with the economics of the game. And you can really see this now. Now we can transition over to Double Masters, of what they chose to put in Double Masters so far. So the good news about like Ultimate Masters is, like I said, they didn't leave any caution to win here. They really picked cards that had massive demand. You really couldn't find a mythic, if we check out these mythics in Double Masters, that didn't see any play. In fact, some of them that had kind of the stinkers coming out the gate have actually recovered. So I think the least expensive card was Balefire Dragon, or no, it was Lord of Extinction. And I think Lord of Extinction still is the least expensive card. But I mean, this one is even reasonably recovered. Not really. It is still holding on here, but it was one of the ones that was the least expensive mythic, but it still held a decent price tag of $5. The Leovold, however, has gone down just because it's now banned in Commander and is even legal in Legacy. I can't remember if it got axed in that too. And some of these other mythics haven't been able to recover as well as they should too, because of bannings in various formats. But the rest of the mythics have done okay, and they really picked very good mythics. But cards like Sigarda, this is another one too. These weren't even safe with how much they see play in Commander. These ones got, coming out the gates, it had Sigarda around. Let's see the time period of when Ultimate Masters was dropped. This card had a price tag of $18 and went all the way down to $6. So it had it actually lost a third of its value. And so you have to expect the same or more from Double Masters with these particular sets. So I'm going to be doing the same thing on the Rogue Market that I did for Double Masters when Double Masters was released, is we'll have an Excel spreadsheet of the value, the box, the estimated box value of Double Masters, and we'll be watching it day to day once we get the full set and see where it's going to end. And I am going to make this prediction that it's not going to be pretty for Double Masters. It's going to be very similar to Ultimate Masters, and it's going to take years for this set to recover. Again, I don't even know if Ultimate Masters is going to be able to recover now. With many of the contents being in Double Masters, we could see this price just continue to deflate across the board for Magic the Gathering. And with organized play, with Grand Prix not being able to be hosted and in-store play, I would really avoid anything that is Modern or Pioneer. Now, Legacy has its little niche market. It's played in the high society circles. So I think Legacy's okay. I think those cards like Resurgence and Legacy are pretty safe because they never really did rely on organized play. But Modern and Pioneer, and to an extent Standard, absolutely require organized play and Grand Prix coverage to really get the movement of Modern and Pioneer. And if you want to see the stinkers about recovery for while this pandemic is going on, it's definitely Modern cards. Modern has had a hard time having any increase in value. I think we see this with one of the cards that does see heavy play in Double Masters here, which is Blinkmoth Nexus, that never really did recover from Modern Masters 2. So this second printing of Modern Masters 2, this is, years ago now, it never did even start to, had a little bit of recovery here, so it bottomed out after Modern Masters 2 at $4.40, had a slight recovery, but then look at this dip. And this is the Ultimate Masters dip I was talking about. This is the bear market that Ultimate Masters caused. It made card prices that weren't even included in Ultimate Masters fall by significant. So there was almost a 50% decrease in Blinkmoth Nexus that had nothing to do, had no printings, none. No printings in this time period when Ultimate Masters. You would think that some of the cards that were printed in Ultimate Masters that made like Affinity more affordable would cause Blinkmoth Nexus to go up in value, but it didn't. And the problem with Blinkmoth Nexus is it didn't see any play outside of Modern. It's not really played that heavily in Commander. It sees some play in some of these colorless decks because you might as well over a basic waste, but many people don't even care about it because the ability is so insignificant that it's not that big of a deal just to chuck a Blinkmoth Nexus in. The justification of throwing a $3 land over just a basic is not there for most Commander players. And you got to think of Commander in that light. Commander players aren't the most competitive, and they will justify not putting in the best option if it is only slightly better than an incredibly cheap option. That's why I like dumpster diving in Commander cards. They have pretty weak abilities if they're still relevant, and people will say, okay, instead of this $20 card, I'll use this budget $1 card. There's a huge market for that, which is not true in a competitive format like Modern Masters. There really isn't a market for budget decks or budget alternatives in Modern. Modern is definitely one where people go all out for the best cards. So Blinkmoth Nexus is a good example of how Modern has turned out in the last couple of years, and especially since Ultimate Masters, how it really hasn't found its footing. And Pioneer was another nail in the coffin for Modern. It kind of split where people focused on, and we're even seeing a terrible bear market in Pioneer as well, with Pioneer, in my opinion, being basically ruined since the printing of Theros and Ikoria, kind of the double whammy of cards that just turned the format into kind of a wombo combo format. So hopefully they can fix it. I think the unbanning of the Nissa is a bad sign for Pioneer because I think that Wizards is kind of going to lay off the bannings, and now they've kind of defined what they want the format to be, and it's, again, in my opinion, that's a bad sign for the format. I'd like to see more interaction. I think we're seeing less and less with Pioneer. That's a video for an entire day. Personally, I've actually taken a break from Magic the Gathering, so uninstalled Arena. I'm not playing Modern or Pioneer in local tournaments, and I even had a bad experience with Jumpstart that I'll draft, I'll play the initial pre-release sets, but right now I need a break from the design for Magic the Gathering. If you see some of my last videos, it's really taken a toll on me with the lack of cards that require interaction and these must-answer threats that have been plaguing Standard and Modern and Pioneer now for a long time. So anyway, that's again another stinker video for another day, but yeah. So I think that though a lot of people are under the same sentiment that I am, and these particular formats are struggling, and Commander's just going through the roof as far as popularity is concerned, because Commander still has its self-regulating multiplayer type format that you can weed out the non-interactive person. You can force a person to be interactive and whatnot, depending on your play group. All right, back to the topic at hand. We'll finally get to the Double Masters. So this is the topic about what I am feeling with these initial Double Masters. So let's take a look at some of these spoilers. All right, so there are some good ones here. The Exploration, of course, needed a reprint. This is a card that has been going up like crazy from Conspiracy. It's a $43.47. So this card, too, is one of those cards that if it does become relatively budget, that's its own undoing, because people then throw it in most of the ramp decks in Commander. Green, of course, wants to ramp. Exploration is one of the most powerful ramp cards, especially if you can pair it with cards that actually go and get lands, like the Nissa's Pilgrimage. This could keep your hand full. It's another thing with like the Lord Windgrace decks and the the Gitrog monster decks, and they're the other ones that they allow you to play or return lands from your graveyard. Exploration then is a really decent card to be throwing in that, because you always have fodder in your graveyard to play additional lands on your turn. So this is a card I expect will have a decent recovery. However, it is a rare, and the supply of Double Masters does seem to be pretty decently high. We don't know if other waves are going to come with it. The one thing that is about Double Masters a little bit misleading is the boxes are quite high in the scope of things, but also they're putting on VIP packs on top of that. So the supply actually is much higher just based upon the VIP packs. And so we should see the Double Masters price of rares at least getting halved, even for a card like the Exploration. So it doesn't look like Exploration is been, it has been put in on MTG Goldfish, or I guess so it wouldn't be on TG Player for pre-sales at the moment. But we should be expecting at least a half, probably I would say 70% decrease in Exploration. Probably should go back down to, I would say, a $15 or $20 card when the dust settles for Exploration. I think that's the best. It most likely will be the most expensive rare. Maybe Cyclonic Rift will be able to hold a little bit higher price tag, even though it's worth less right now, just due to the fact that it's one of the most played blue cards, one of the most played cards in Commander. So those ones are good. Here's the problem that we're going to start entering into with Double Masters. Let's take a card like Noble Hierarch. So this is the issue I'm having with Wizards of the Coast, where they keep targeting the same cards over and over, and eventually what happens is it's the straw that breaks the camel's back. So this is going to be another rare. This was a card that was super investable with Modern. So when Modern is healthy, Noble Hierarch is probably your key card to invest in, because of just how many decks it sees play in. Now, seeing play a lot now, they added Commander as a format that shows up here. If we just click at Modern, though, and filter, this is a card that sees a lot of play in some heavily played decks. So the Devoted combo, the Humans, Infect, Spirits, Ban Control, and even Hate Bears utilizes Noble Hierarch. That is an extremely good sign for Noble Hierarch when Modern is popular. But, yet again, this is the problem with Modern. If we take a look at Ultimate Masters, this card has still not recovered. This was my pick for the card that was most likely to recover from Ultimate Masters. Wow, oh wow, did I miss the ball on this one. I should have picked Commander cards, because I thought that Modern would continue its popularity. But you can see it was still going down before this was even spoiled, and did not see any reprintings or any murmurings of reprinting. So no secret layers or anything like that. Noble Hierarch was still going down from its Ultimate Masters printing when it is now announced with Double Masters. This is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back for Noble Hierarch. We saw Noble Hierarch decrease in value from, I think it was an $80 card. Let's go ahead and look at Modern Masters 2 when Ultimate Masters came out. This was, $80. $80 went all the way down to $30. So we can expect another decrease of, over 50% decrease with this printing of the Double Masters. And I'm expecting this to go down to $10 card, especially now when we have promos for people to chase for the Noble Hierarch. This is also a box topper. And what's the box topper go for? $35 is all. That's Ultimate Masters foil. Swear at a box topper for Ultimate Masters. So is there a way to see? I'm not certain why the Ultimate Masters box topper's not pulling up here. But yeah, it's look at even the Judge promo and see. I guess it was starting to. Nope, that one also got just wrecked. $170 all the way down to $100 and still dropping with the Judge promo. So anyway, That's one of the first signs of where they are looking for some equity for rare, and they chose Noble Hierarch based upon the price point as a pretty decent, include a $30 card as a way to attract people to the product. But that's the issue with how short-sighted people are with Magic the Gathering. Take a look at Chandra's Spellbook. I was very, very critical of Chandra's Spellbook when it was spoiled, and had a lot of arguments with people that Gideon's Spellbook was probably a better investment than Chandra's Spellbook. And right out the gate, Chandra's Spellbook had about a $40 value in a product that was going to cost you $20. And so people are like, this is just a duh. This is just a duh deal. You pay $20 for $40 worth of card. But the problem with Chandra's Spellbook was the supply, and the biggest problem with Chandra's Spellbook was it was including cards that were recently reprinted, which has a domino effect on the prices of these cards. Oftentimes they can absorb one reprinting in a 1 year span. If you get 2 or 3 reprintings in a 1 year span, it just crushes the value of the card and the ability for it to ever regain value. And we're still seeing, look at Gideon's Spellbook with, Rest in Peace, one of the most heavily played cards in competitive formats. It still hasn't recovered. Path to Exile still hasn't recovered. You can even go back to Jace's Spellbook, and we finally have cards starting to recover from Jace's Spellbook, which was, over a year ago when that product was released. So this is the issue with a lot of these double masters. If we go back over to Ultimate Masters 2, one of the things that people can brag about Ultimate Masters is, again, there wasn't a lot of stinkers in the set. We had Squee, but if you start going up this list, we get into cards that actually do see heavy play, but the problem was they just have too many printings, like Tasker and Talorand. These are insanely popular cards. However, these are cards that just continue to get reprinted and reprinted and reprinted, and we had some dumbing down of mythics into just rares in Double Masters. But for the vast majority of rares, most of these rares were really good targets. They had huge price tags. All Is Dust was an expensive card. Celestial Holonaut, another one of my picks for a card that has the best chance of recovering. Another card that has just not done anything. It's just gone down, down, down. Did this one, I can't remember if this one actually did see a Secret Lair or not. Did they do the Manlands for Secret Lair? I can't remember if they did or not with it. But regardless, though, this is another card that has not been able to recover from Ultimate Masters. We go over to now the Double Masters, and many of these cards I think are going to go the same way as the Ultimate Masters. And the worst thing about it, though, is there is some cards that I think are stinker cards to be included in this, and we'll get to those in a second. So let's look at Bosch. So Bosch is already a dud. Look at that. Commander, 34-cent card. So they are admitting defeat here. Like I said with Ultimate Masters, I do not believe there was any bulk rares. Let's take Squee. Let's take Squee here and see where Squee was before. So Commander 2019 was after the fact. So last time it had been printed was Modern Masters, and it was, it was a $4 card before it was reprinted in Double Masters. $4. Let's see if we can find another card here with Ultimate Masters from. So it got to be Desolate Lighthouse. That had to been, if I remember correctly, wasn't it Stirring Wildwood and Desolate Lighthouse that were the stinkers? So this one was actually, so that was after. Desolate Lighthouse was still, so we're still a $1 card though. So that was our worst example of Ultimate Masters when it was printed. Was you could get a $1 rare. So there wasn't really anything that was actually bulk, like just bulk of the bulk. Now looking over, we already have Bosch, which is printed. Look at all these printings within a short time period. And obviously, these printing of Commander 2014 and Commander 2018, and now the Commander's Anthology 2018, wasn't enough to increase the price of Bosch. Now, Bosch is kind of a popular card. It's fallen out of favor, though, just because of other abilities being able to do it better. It can only be used in red artifact decks. And again, the supply of many of these products was quite high. So Bosch is a bad sign to come with Double Masters. If we come over here with some of these other cards, let's look at Kragenwick Cremator. The problem with this is this was a Saffron Olive deck, which had a price increase. So if we come over to the, look, it's already snapped back too. This had this little price increase here. So found a combo with the Kragenwick Cremator, went up to $4. It had some price readjustment just because it was a jank deck that has no chance of actually recovering. And ow, there we go. There's the issue. There's the big issue with what I'm saying with the lack of of overlap between the people that must be working on these sets. Where I mean, this is probably the time. So Double Masters, if you give a reasonable time of creating a set, let's give them a year. So they start developing the set. They see this $6 card, and the people that are working on Mystery Booster Box and now on the Double Master are like, wow, this would be a great inclusion. People want this card. It's a $6 rare. This is a target for a reprint. And look what happens in that time frame, especially now with the double printing. This is a bulk of a bulk of a bulk stinker card that is now in Double Masters. We go over to a Trash for Treasure that's being dumbed down to an uncommon. You know, had a dollar card, but now is an uncommon. It's a decent, like, this is where they should put it. So they realize, okay, this isn't a card that we can put it rare. Otherwise, people are going to be kind of pissy about opening up a Trash for Treasure. It probably has more of an uncommon ability. We probably want it in the uncommon slot just for the rare chance people are actually going to play this as a sealed product. We probably want this. Yeah, it does feel more like a, you know, an uncommon type card. We'll throw it in the uncommon slot. Yeah, this is another card that is just going to get crushed in value now, being it as an uncommon, as it didn't have value as a rare. We go over to now some of these other spoilers. Let's look at Arkham Dachshund. This is another card that did spike up in value. Yeah, that hasn't had a printing, but unfortunately with this card, supply is the game. Is the name of the game here. So this has very little supply. Yep, looks like they started working on the set when the Arkham Dachshund looked like a premium target for a reprint. Went all the way up to $30 because people thought that it was just going to be used more in whatever combo that the Arkham Dachshund, I can't remember what came out with War of the Spark at this point that worked with this card. But now it had some price readjustment, went down to $16. Started to show some promise of them flatlining out and then going back up in value, but now it's got a printing here. So this is another target I think that they thought was going to be a chase mythic? Mythic? They put this as a mythic? Yikes. Yeah, that's a big yikes. So not going to talk too much about Cyclonic Rift because I think this is of course, it's a knockout of the park. This is a card that sees a lot of. This one is the best chance of holding value is Cyclonic Rift. In fact, if this is a card that does end up going down in value, this is something you should be picking up. Let's look at Heat Shimmer. Heat Shimmer, another low supply card, $4.87 card, had a recent spike up. Yep, you can see that it was probably War of the Spark that the developers of Double Masters started to develop this set and start looking for cards that are good inclusion. Another bulk card when the dust settles. Put a token to play this copy of a token as haste, and at the end of turn, remove this permanent from the game. Okay, White has an ability called Populate that just puts this out permanently. You make a token of a copy, and it just... So put a token into play that's a copy of... Oh, okay, never mind. This doesn't put a copy of a token. This just puts a token into play of a permanent, gains haste, and then you have to destroy it. So it's a cute effect that has a lot of combos, I'm sure. This can go to a lot of infinite combos. But the reason why this was a $5 card is this was Lorwyn. This is an old set, never out of reprint. This is going to get crushed down to bulk rare prices. All right, so we go over to now some of the other ones like Voice Resurgence, another card that has just too many printings in too short of a time. I say that because Dragon's Maze is still a heavy supply set. This just spells disaster. They're never going to allow Dragon's Maze to ever accrue value. Do you know the box value of Voice Resurgence is $20 with the shocks? If you were to open up a booster box of Dragon's Maze, that's the expected value. The problem with Dragon's Maze is distributors still have it available. You can still get pre-release packs of Dragon's Maze. It has no value because they can't leave the set alone and they keep printing these cards. This is going to get another huge hit to the Voice of Resurgence. And I mean, I think at this point it's going to be a $4 card when the dust settles with Voice of Resurgence. Did they make it a mythic? No, they made it rare. All right, we already talked about the Noble Hierarch. I think they like dumbed down Sphinx's Summoner. We're not going to talk about uncommons here. Austere Command. This is another one I believe had a Iconic Masters reprint. This one's actually a pretty decent one because we saw Austere Command. This is a card that I did slightly invest in when it did hit its bottom. And these are cards that I do believe you should be looking at for potential investments when they hit their bottom. But let me reiterate to the fact that where is the bottom? Where's the bottom for some of these? Look at Ultimate Masters. I don't know if we've seen the bottom for even some of these Commander playable cards. Wall of Reverence. This just had a couple of Commanders that wanted this card. wanted this card in the. So we had the Arcades from Core 2019. We had a couple printings of cards that allow you to do damage based on the toughness. We had a lot of life gain based stuff that came out that want this card. So we look at Commander. So let's see how many. Yeah, Arcades the Strategist, of course, wanted it. And is this a new one? The Sky Rampart. This is one that just came out right from the. Yep. This is a new one too that wanted it. And we have no real price increase of the Wall of Reverence. And why I am referencing Wall of Reverence is I think this is going to be very similar to many of these rares. So this is not a significant price increase. Like Wall of Reverence might now finally be something that is investable. Card Kingdom purchase price has gone way up, but their still buy list is super, super low for a card like this. And man, this is going to be the route that many of these cards, like our Austere Command, unfortunately, are going to go. Rise of Redeemed, isn't this one that just got a Jumpstart reprint? Or Mystery Booster? Again, they need to work together on these things. A double reprinting. Spoiler alert, Mystery Booster Box is sort of a print-to-demand set. We don't know how many waves. The rumor, and now the rumor seems to be coming true, as this is going to be a trickle set. It is announced now that there is another printing of Mystery Booster Boxes coming to distributors. And it's a super, super small, but I think that is the route that they're going with this Mystery Boosters, is they want to keep stores reasonably stocked. They don't want to flood the market with Mystery Boosters, but they want stores the available option to draft this until, in my opinion, Mystery Booster Box 2 comes out. This is their response to older sets not being available. So everyone used to love Chaos Drafts. So let's pick up a Shards of Alara deck and mix it with a Mirrored and Besieged pack, and maybe go back to an Onslaught pack and shuffle them together, and or everyone drafts one of the pack and see what crazy things can happen. That's the reason for Mystery Booster boxes, is those cards, those sealed products started to run out, and especially for their GP scene, they couldn't do those Chaos Drafts. They were very, very popular, and so they made this as a response to that, and they wanted to give the stores the same option, so they're trickling these things in. We don't know when the end of this particular Mystery Booster Box, or if it ever is really going to end, like I said, until maybe a Mystery Booster Box 2 comes out. And so that is a huge red flag for Rise to Redeem now having another printing of. So what happened with Mystery Booster Box, I believe this went down from a reasonably expensive card. Let's look at Shadowmoor. Went down all the way from a $30 card to a $7 card, and now it's getting another printing. Sneak Attack. This did not have enough time to recover from its last printing of. I guess it did. So this is one that Eternal Masters came out, and it had some reasonable. I guess this one's a pretty decent one. Sneak Attack is. You never know if it could get banned in Commander, though, because of how degenerate the card is. Plate Splicer. There's another bulk rare. Bulk of all bulk rares. Stone Hero Giant. Probably another bulk rare, because I believe this is another low supply card with the Stone Hero Giant. So is in Modern Masters. Had a decent. This is one that I do believe, had a decent recovery. Look at that, $2 all the way up to $9. But Modern Masters didn't really have a lot of supply. So I think this is finally going to be the one that has huge supply. It does have a decent ability as far as equipments are concerned, and it gets better and better as more equipments come out. But this one should get really crushed. We're talking about the $1 to $2 range when the dust settles. Lux Cannon getting dumbed down from a mythic to a rare. Another one that was only printed as Scars of Mirrodin as a mythic. So that's the reason why it had this price tag. Yeah, this is 100% a set that was designed during War of the Spark, and they took some misguided price increases and then thought these were actually reasonable targets, when this card hadn't actually had the price correction from, if you actually look at this line of trajectory, and if Wizard of the Coast actually hired someone that knew how the secondary market operates, they could say that this was something that needed some price correction when War of the Spark came out and this proliferate. They thought this card would go nuts. And if you actually take this regular line, I bet when the dust settles, if we gave this another 5 months, 4 or 5 months, the price correction would have gone down to $6. It would be the true value of the Lux Cannon. So market price 7, I don't know, maybe it did find its level here, but now this one's going to get absolutely crushed. I could actually see Lux Cannon becoming a bulk. Yep, you've heard it here. This is going to be a bulk rare when the dust settles. Tracodon, already a pretty bulk rare, gets printed all the time. We talked about Exploration. Shroom, already a bulk rare. Engineered Explosives, another card that I want to showcase here with Ultimate Masters that never recovered. This card was one of the most highly sought after cards from Ultimate Masters in the rare slot. It got kicked down all the way to, look at the market price of $7 because of just the lack of playability or the lack of how much Modern is actually, seeing play right now in organized play. This is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back for the Engineered Explosives. Wormcoil Engine, same thing. It's more of a competitive card. Sculpting Steels had multiple reprintings. Megas of the Abyss is already a bulk rare. Sword of War and Peace. It's one of the swords that actually has the least amount of commander playability. Sunforger, this is a card that does go up in value, but this is going to be a card, a reprinting that crushes it. Jace the Mind Sculptor, this is going to be finally the reprint that kills it. This has just had too many reprints here now in such a short time period. From the Vault 20, from Eternal Masters, from the Masters 25, and this is another card that had that initial, it went up in value because it got unbanned in Modern, and then had some price readjustment all the way down to $85 before now it's announced in the Double Masters. We have Karn Liberated, which is a good inclusion, but then Glimmer Void. This one's the most laughable one because they printed a better card than Glimmer Void. This card doesn't even really see that much play in Modern. Look, it doesn't even show up in Modern anymore because of the one that was printed out of Kaladesh is just strictly better than Glimmer Void. And if we look at Modern Masters, this was still going down. Still going down. Had never even recovered from just being outclassed by another card. And it was a terrible inclusion for this particular one. So this is, and are these the spoilers that are they showing this the trash now? Is that what they're doing? Teasing with like exploration and whatnot, and then holding up. And I do have some inside information about a few other cards. There are still some goodies that are going to be included in this particular product, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to justify the price tag. Once again, we have a precedent for this. This is Ultimate Masters that threw all caution to the winds and couldn't keep up the set EV compared to the box price of Ultimate Masters. And I think Double Masters is going to go the exact same route. I know this has been a very rambly video. I know that I've been all over the place, but be safe out there with Double Masters. We don't know the supply right now. It's reasonably high. One distributor thinks that this is going to be a one and done. The other thinks that, nope, this is going to be... I've also heard rumors that this is a catch-up set, so meaning that Wizard of the Coast is just going to try to reprint everything that is eligible to be reprinted and get the prices down to a decent price to try to spur a little bit of growth and tame everyone's... One of them explained it to me that this is Wizard of the Coast is trying to make everything accessible, and then their new business model is these alternate art ways of like their secret layers of actually selling, making profit off of the equity of cards. I think it's going to backfire because once you make everything special, nothing becomes special, and there's just too many printings of even things like full arts and foils and things that we're now in the territory of sports cards and sports cards and Pokemon that it's. Again, when everything's special, nothing is special, and we've already seen that with like collector's edition stuff where foils and full arts showcases, stuff like that, end up being maybe 10% more than the original price of cards, and I'm expecting that with VIP packs to have a very similar thing with, I think the days of like Expedition holding these super, super high price tags are over. The supply of these specialty cards are just too high, and that's going to also kill the value of the estimated value you're going to get from these sets as well. So yeah, I think this is the master set to end all master sets, and it's going to take a long time for everything to recover. I think we're going to go back into a bear market from Double Masters because all roads lead to Double Masters. Everyone's eye is on that, and a lot of these sets that have come out during this time period are just going to get a back seat. Now, the good news about that, though, is look at like Rivals of Ixalan and Amonkhet. Those were sets that were released around the same time as Ultimate Masters. They've actually had the best increase because I think that those sets were so forgotten about because all the money went into Double Masters that those have been able to accrue value. Like $135 booster boxes for Amonkhet. It's pretty cool. That's a real good increase. And that just shows the lack of supply, not really the contents of the cards in that set. So maybe start looking at, I say Theros. Theros looks like the best investable set. Collector's Edition booster boxes are still available for around $180 distributor price. And that might be the set that, you know, just kind of sneaks by. Ikoria might be as well, because I do like those lands long term. And even things that now sets that have been sandwiched in between the two master sets, like Ravnica Allegiance or Guilds of Ravnica or War of the Spark, also might end up being decent little places to park your money rather than going in double masters. I don't like it. I don't like double masters as an investment. If you're looking to keep this as a sealed case, I think you are really, really doing yourself some damage for long-term investability in sealed product. And if you're looking for singles, just wait till they crash. They're going to crash, and that'll be the time to pick up. But reiterate my first warning, we still haven't seen a recovery in Ultimate Masters. That is a bad sign for double masters. It was too quick for this master set to be released with Ultimate Masters, especially with so much overlap with mystery booster boxes, contents in Ultimate Masters, and even contents in things like Jumpstart that are just going to really, really hamper the growth of the set. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. A long one today. We'll be taking a closer look on the rogue market, where I'll start making some spreadsheets and looking at the box prices and estimated value you're going to be able to acquire from double masters. I've already got $18,000 worth of orders of double masters, so people aren't taking my advice on this. That's also a bad sign, because oftentimes when Wizards of the Coast sees the demand, they try to meet the demand with these master sets. That's the precedent that's been set with iconic Masters 25 and Ultimate Masters, is it seems like the supply was actually over the demand. And yeah, that's where I think this one's going to end up. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. This has been Kevin with the Rogue Deck Builder. Thanks for watching.